Alright, well, I figured I'd go ahead and start streaming here. Now let's see how this works. I tested it a little bit with my secondary account earlier, but okay, it looks like it's working. Good. Yeah, like I said, I tested it with my secondary account earlier, and it seemed to work. So we'll see how this goes. I already see it. There's a couple comments, so obviously you can see the reminder that's coming up. So that's good. A good start. We're even starting 1 minute early. Okay, hopefully people can hear me. At least it was working before. Alright. Encoder is working. Things are happening. Yes, they are. Okay, so I'm checking on my secondary account to make sure that they are actually that the stream is actually happening. Okay, checking. Okay, so I'm checking on my secondary. It is working. Good. Okay. Excellent. So, those of you who are here, I'm about to tweet out that I'm here, so people know. All right, so that has been tweeted, and I'm posting Facebook. Make sure that people know I'm here as well. And I'll get off of that. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So I want to talk about a few things today, and I'm sure if you guys have stuff to talk about, throw something into the chat there. And there's always plenty of things on my mind these days with all the political and religious and various other things happening these days. So, first of all, I wanted to talk about the YouTube partner thing. Now, yeah, SpaceX. That's a good one. Let's start with that instead. So, the whole SpaceX thing, that's great. I mean, he basically, so logic beats speculation. The rocket that they launched today, I believe it was their biggest to date, right? Or it was about to be their biggest or something. It's I don't know exactly how big it is, but it's sort of on a par with the kind of stuff that NASA has sent up before, which is great. And as much as yeah, the twin booster landing, I have not actually seen the video of it yet, so I've gotta check out the video of it. But yeah, it sounds awesome. And I had one of my friends actually sent me a message on Facebook, and he's like, did you see it? I'm so excited. I'm like, yeah, I'm excited too. I haven't seen it yet though. So, but yeah, I will definitely take a look at it as soon as I can. It really does sound great. Um, so, so Trump, yes, there is a lot to say about Trump at the moment. I don't know if you guys heard about this one, but he now wants to have a freaking military parade in the middle of D.C., which is ridiculous on a lot of different levels. I mean, D.C. traffic is bad enough as it is. So if you guys don't know this already, I live in the D.C. area. So I live in the Virginia suburbs of D.C. I don't live in D.C. proper, but I live a bit outside of it. But I'm definitely in the DC metro area. So yeah, it's insane. I don't know how this is going to happen. Um, some of the bridges in DC are in such bad shape that I think a tank might do them in at this point. But that's probably the one thing that I agree with Trump on. Maybe two things. I was thinking there's two things that I sort of agree with Trump on. That one is that infrastructure needs work, and that it needs to actually happen at some point. There needs to be a lot of infrastructure work in this country. But McConnell actually said like a year ago that that was a non-starter. So it's like the one thing that Trump actually wants that I want is not wanted by the rest of Republicans. So it'll never happen. Whatever. Um, the other thing is, I think it's kind of silly the whole China-Taiwan thing. I think it was really stupid that he took the call from the Taiwanese leader because you're not supposed to do that. But I do think it's ultimately silly that we know that Taiwan can't be its own country, even though we have the one China policy. Like I don't know. It seems a little bit of an ignoring of the obvious there. But so so yeah, there is a lot to say about Trump, for sure. Um, it's a little bit well, it's a lot crazy. But yeah, what else? So the YouTube Partner Program. Now, those of you who are watching this, even if you're not interested in the rest of it, if you're just watching it on my channel, or if you can just watch part of it now and part of it later or something, just let it run so I can at least get the YouTube hours that I need in order to in order to keep partner. I've been a YouTube partner for like 7 years, but I suddenly get this email that like, oh, you're not going to be a partner anymore if XYZ. If you don't have over 1,000 subscribers, which obviously I have way more than that, but my total hours watched, because my videos are so short and because I didn't make an awful lot of videos last year, or like between a couple months in the beginning of the year and then the last few months of the year, I made very few videos in between there because I was just too busy. And so my total watched hours are like 3,000, and you need like 4,000 watched hours within the last 12 months in order to remain partner. So if 1,000 people watch this video, then and for the full hour that it's going to be, then I'd be basically set. I'd be close to set anyway. And that's usually what I get on my normal videos these days anyway. But so yeah, so anything you can do for that would be fantastic, or just watch I have a few playlists of me talking politics and stuff like that here and there. I should probably add to those playlists to get some of the more recent stuff on them. I haven't refreshed them in a while, but yeah, that is happening as well, and I'd like to remain partners so I could do more of these things if I want to. My videos are usually are almost always under 5 minutes, so my total watched time is really low, which really sucks. Even though my views are for how many videos I'm doing at least are reasonable. But so yeah, this is what I'm drinking tonight. I don't let's see if I can get it a little closer. So this is like Creek beer. If you are familiar with Belgian beers, like where you have the sort of the cherry-ish flavored beer. So hello, Sabich, what's happening? So yeah, if you're into Creek beer, definitely a thing. So Overwatch streams, that is a fantastic idea. I'd love to do Overwatch streams. The only thing I'm thinking though is that people who watch this channel, a lot of them don't really care about games. I have a second channel called Zaunstar Games, which I've had for a few years now, and I was keeping it up for a few months back a few years ago, but I just didn't have the time to really do it, and I didn't really have the right games to do it. But now that I play Overwatch, Overwatch is a perfect game that really lends itself to streaming, and it's actually interesting and fun to watch being streamed. Hearthstone is a little bit slow. I like Hearthstone, but that's mostly what I was doing. I was doing Hearthstone, and then I did a few Minecraft videos, but I'm not a Minecraft expert, so but yeah, doing Overwatch streams could be great. I just don't know if this is the channel to do it. I think I might irritate more people than I would make happy doing it, but maybe I will. Maybe I will do an Overwatch. I'll do one Overwatch stream maybe in the next maybe week or two before that February 20th deadline. And if it works out, then great. Maybe I'll do some more of those too. I'd have to make sure, of course, for Patreon purposes, those would not count toward Patreon. Those would just be, you know, just be regular videos. But because stuff like this, where I'm talking about issues and that kind of thing, yeah, I'd put those on the Patreon stream no more than one a week as usual. But that is yeah, but I think that's a good solid plan. Um, I'd love to do something like that where I'm doing like Overwatch videos every once in a while, and then sometimes do videos like this in addition to my normal sort of scripted videos. Um, yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. So definitely. So yeah, back to the Tesla thing. um, or the SpaceX thing. Yeah, I mean that's. I think getting private industry into space exploration is great, and the way to finance that, of course, is getting really, really rich people to burn some capital on getting into space because they can get into space with a lot fewer qualifications than someone from NASA could. The only issue there is almost inevitably once you start getting a reasonable number of people going up there, something is gonna go wrong, and then when something goes wrong and somebody dies, then what happens? Who, does it become a thing, a problem where they now have to start regulating this, and then fewer people will be able to go up? And I don't know. I'm just not sure. Um, so yeah, hard to say how that would go there. What's the Wayland Corp, Beach? I'm not familiar with that. What is it? Hmm, this is quite good. Ale aged on cherries with other natural flavor added. Hmm. All right, whatever. Again, this is sort of a creek beer, a Belgian beer. Yeah, absolutely, Carl. What's happening, man? Good to see you. Yes, how about them Eagles indeed? So Mrs. Zaunstar, as I believe, as I'm sure I mentioned on my Facebook, she's a big Eagles fan. So because well, she's from Philly. I wouldn't say she's a big Eagles fan. She probably doesn't know more than a couple players on the team. But being from Philly, it's just kind of in your blood. Um, so yeah, she thought it was fantastic. I thought it was fantastic. I was like, that last Hail Mary, I was just like, no, not again. And then hits the ground, game over, it's done, It was great. Mm, I was very, very happy about that. So, I have not seen The Expanse. No, don't know what that is. There's so many shows now. There's just a huge amount of content which is better on average, it seems like, than content has been in decades past. There's so many different players involved in making that content. There's so much content that's geared toward sort of sci-fi or fantasy or that kind of thing that there's just tons of it in the market now, which is great. I mean, I love Stranger Things is really cool. Um, and yeah, I really enjoyed Stranger Things. I've seen season 1 and 2 already. Um, but yeah, there's just a lot of good content out there. Yes, you're heading to Philly for the parade. Yes, I will. I will pray to the flying spaghetti monster for your safe return, Carl. I hope you have a fantastic time. Are you taking the wife and kid, or you just going by yourself? I assume probably by yourself, just because you couldn't guarantee their safety, right? Hmm. Philly's got a bit of a reputation. For those of you that are watching from overseas and don't necessarily know what all the different cities have different sort of they have different reputations in the U.S. So Philly has a reputation for having a ton of people who are maybe like your version of soccer hooligans, something like that, except they're football hooligans, and we don't call them hooligans. We just call them jackasses. But yeah. Mm. So Budweiser spent 5 million on commercials to say they donated 100K on fresh water initiatives. Well, I mean, so basically, Budweiser, those commercials, they hit the 1 million mark. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago. It seems like it was what, 15 years ago, maybe 20 that it hit the $1 million mark. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but it doesn't seem like it was that long ago. But those ads have been going up way faster than inflation, it seems like. But yeah, if they want to spend 5 million on a commercial for that, it's fine. But donating 100K on fresh water initiatives, hey, it's a start at least. I mean, corporate responsibility, I think these days is actually ahead of where the current administration, actually even cares about it. I think a lot of the good that's done in the world at the moment by corporations is going to be done at the behest of their their shareholders, and the actual people in charge of those corporations, I think, are going to be leading the charge as opposed to being led to these things like higher air quality standards and stuff like that. Because I think a lot of that stuff right now, the Trump administration is just trying to gut all of it, and basically say that, oh no, we don't need any corporate responsibility at all. And I think it's going to be the private market and people being discerning about what they buy and why, that they are actually pushed to do something that's not that's actually good for the environment or good for whatever it is. So yeah, Sabich, the whole water wars thing, I think that could absolutely be real. That could happen at some point. Who knows? There's already rumblings of that kind of thing. Tommy from the Bronx, how's it going, man? So it's been a while since I've heard from you. Uh, so Tommy from the so you guys all know Tommy from the Bronx. He's kind of old school. He's one of these guys that, like, those who were big into YouTube like several years ago, everybody would have known Tommy from the Bronx, but like these kids these days who were like 12 at the time may not know him. But so yeah, kind of a bombastic dude from the Bronx. Although he now lives in Connecticut, which I find endlessly funny, because Tommy from Connecticut doesn't really have that same badassery connotation that Tommy from the Bronx has. Tommy from Connecticut. Mm. But yeah. Hey, what's up, Michael? Def Shell 2, what's happening, man? Yes. Def Shell 2, who the hell are you? Remember that? True, he is technically from the Bronx, but he's he's Tommy in Connecticut, but from the Bronx. So yeah. Yes, very true. So Can of Minus, this is I guess a beer. It says it's an ale aged on cherries and other natural flavors added, but again, it's like a Creek beer. It's one of these like Belgian beers, and I know that people will see the cherries and be like, oh, it's like a fruit flavor. Well, I mean, kind of, yeah, it's got fruit in it, but this is not something that's a new thing. I mean, this is something they've been drinking in Belgium for a long, long time. So it's yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm kind of an old schooler too. I mean, I'm certainly not as influential as I was back in like 2012, 2013. I just don't make videos as often as I did back then. So those days are behind me at the moment. But I have been trying to revitalize the channel a bit, and because I still want to be able to bounce ideas off of people, and in even having 1,000 or a couple thousand on a good video, on a really on an exceptionally interesting video, I guess, is still worth it to me. I still like having that platform, and I'm still thankful for it. It's still a lot of fun, I think. Um, well, I still make videos, Emily. I don't know if you've seen. Have you seen? Do you know that I've made, well, in the last 3 months, probably I've probably made at least a dozen videos. But yeah, I've been making videos. Mm, yeah, I'm trying to. I really am trying to represent and fix this mess, because right now the conversation, I don't even recognize the conversation now in the atheist community. It's so bizarre. Like, there's a lot of people that I like and I respect in the atheist community that are really smart people, that I think are just talking about the silliest things now, and just harping on the silliest things. And I've talked about it in videos too, but those tend to be all the videos that get downvoted by a billion people. They're like, oh no, SJWs are a big threat to blah 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 blah. I'm like, oh please. I mean, the real weirdos. I mean, why does anyone even give them the time of day? Who cares? They're not influential at all. Mm, yeah, getting the motivation is a little tricky sometimes, especially during the time last year when I was traveling a lot. It was crazy. I was just not. I had no. I had really not very much time, and the little time I did have, I wanted to just relax and play games and stuff. And so here was my, and I don't think I mentioned it specifically in a video. I mean, I talked about bits and I talked about like bits and pieces and stuff, but all the places that I went to last year, I was in 10 different countries last year. So, and it was mostly within almost all of that, except for one of those countries, was between like March and August. So within like 5 months, I was in a whole bunch of different countries on different trips and places like all the way around the world. It wasn't like I wasn't going to Canada or anything like that. I mean, I had to cross an ocean to get to almost every place that I went to. So so yeah, ContraPoints. ContraPoints is fantastic. I mean, ContraPoints is a friend of mine from way back because um, she was an old schooler back then before she transitioned. When her name was Nick. Um, she was really cool person back then. I met up with Natalie just last I don't know, it was like yeah, like a few months ago. When I was in inner city for a concert, and we had dinner. It was a lot of fun. It's good catching up with her and all that. So yeah, her content is just fascinating and amazing. The characters, um, yeah, the characters that she does, like what is Tabby, yeah, right, exactly, yes, Tabby, that's the one. Just hilarious. I mean, she's got a great eye for that sort of thing. Um, and it's interesting too, the whole transitioning thing. That yeah, that when I met up with Natalie in October, that was before she was really doing that much, or at least hadn't been that successful that much, her voice training. And so when I met up with her, she still talked mostly like she used to talk before she transitioned. So, but now her voice is definitely, I've noticed that it's different. And like I used to think that like, oh, that's kind of secondary to everything, but it really does make a big difference in perception, because my perception of her is now more, it's more definitely, oh yeah, she's really transitioned now that her voice is different. And it's interesting because that was something that was like a big concern of hers, and she mentioned in videos, how do I, how can I be female if my voice doesn't seem to fit the part? And it's pretty interesting. So, mm, I would love to, and DevShell, I'd love to have Peach back in the fold in terms of making videos and exerting her influence too, because she's Peach is fantastic. I mean, she knows I think she's fantastic, and but I just but it's hard to blame her for looking at the state of things right now and saying nope, don't want any part of it, no mas. I totally understand it completely. Um, hmm It's it's definitely something that is not the most, it's not the most heartening thing, when you see everybody complaining about stupid stuff. And yes, I did know that, and congratulations to you both. And as I said on your post on Facebook, I was like, oh, you guys aren't married already? I'd completely forgotten that. I was like, oh, aren't you, but you're already married. So yeah. Um, so yeah, we are trying to bring things back. Let's see. So someone said, Emily said, many people say that atheist accounts picking on Christianity and ancient history are easy. Would you say the same about atheist account picking on Muslims or SJWs now? I mean, yeah, there's always going to be some low-hanging fruit, and there's people like Venom Fang X, which Canon Minus mentioned earlier. Uh, Old school people like that, and old school Christians who were easy targets because they were just dopey as hell, and you know, they were easy to pick on. Um, to some extent, yes, people do like to take the easy way sometimes, and like to go after someone who's maybe a couple cards short of a full deck, let's say, that kind of thing. So I don't know. Arn Ra is going to officiate your wedding. Now that is serious business, my friend. The Texas Tank is going to officiate your wedding. That is super cool. Yeah, I've met Arn Ra a couple times. Yeah, really nice guy. Met him at Dragon Con last year. Mm. Also met him at the original Reason Rally in 2012. So yeah. So these Jordan Peterson fans, so uh, so TJ, the Amazing Atheist, is actually about to make a video about Jordan Peterson, and he doesn't think very much of him either. And I'm hoping that TJ can use his influence to nip that in the bud and not let Jordan Peterson have this whole generation of atheists talking like religious people except without their religion, but basically the same tenets of religion, like but without actually being Christian. I don't understand. Jordan Peterson's whole thing is like to try to sound really philosophical, and he's all kind of pseudosciency, but trying to do it in such a way that he appeals to the men are oppressed, just sort of demographic, which I just find bizarre. I'm like, here we are in 2018, and like you have all these dudes that are like, men are so oppressed. What about the boys? And I'm like, oh god, oppressed, whatever. Mm, I'm definitely not feeling too oppressed over here. But anyway, so yeah, definitely, yeah. I hope the Peach does come back, and oh yeah, MG Tau. Chemo, I probably should make a video about them because uh, I think that um, I think that MG Tau would kind of get that same reaction that that the incels video got. It'll make people interested in learning about that little sort of odd segment of the world. I actually know someone. Uh, I know someone that actually self-describes as an MG Tau, and he's actually a really nice guy. I've played Overwatch with him for like the last almost a year now, I think, on and off, whenever he's around anyway. And he's this Canadian guy, but he was telling me that well, he had a relationship and he had a kid with her, but now she's into drugs, I think, or something. And he's like, well, I don't want like a real relationship, but I just have very casual relationships, and it's just not monetarily well. It's the whole sort of MG Tao thing, but he's not like hardcore MG Tao, but he kind of has that sort of mindset. But I think a lot of these guys are just they have had a bad experience, and they're young, and they just haven't. They have one bad experience, and they're like, well, the world's against us men, and that's just kind of it. So I don't know. So MG Tau is men going their own way is that's what the acronym is, men going their own way. And what it basically means is men who've decided that being in a relationship is somehow better for the woman than the man, kind of thing, and so they're not going to feed into the to that. They're not going to feed into that societal pressure or that societal game that they think that they're putting men through or whatever. So yeah, it's kind of odd. Um, yep. Incels, yeah, they're definitely an odd bunch. That was I did a video about them a couple months ago that actually since I've returned to making videos a bit more frequently, that's actually gotten more views than I think any of my other recent videos was the incels video. I put it on I put it on or no, someone posted it on the Reddit incels forum. And then the Reddit incels forum like a week later was taken down. Not obviously anything to do with the video, just it was a couple weeks later or something like that. Yeah. Let's see. Bunch of dudes that think it's best if they're in a room full of 24 males and 0 females because females are the devil. Yeah, I mean that they do think that that they'll often talk about like women are this, women are that, and like most people are when I hear things about like oh Americans are this and Americans are that if I'm overseas, I'll remind people that hey, there's like 330 million of us or whatever it is at the moment, and how do you generalize a third of a billion of anything? I don't know. But actually, most people overseas don't. I don't think they look at it like that. They're not. They're actually a bit more discerning. They're understanding that hey, not every American voted for Trump. And my usual joke when people ask like, "Hey, did you vote for Trump?" And I'll be like, "Well, you know that I'm here, so you know that I have a passport. So I mean, obviously I didn't vote for Trump." And everybody seems to find that endlessly funny, but so because I think that's the stereotype there. That's why they think it's so funny. But a lot of them don't even realize that only like half of Americans have a passport, which is pretty unusual in Europe. It's much higher. It's a much higher percentage there. So yes, all Americans are Murican. Apostrophe Murican. Have you seen any TFM or RGE videos? TFM is something. I don't. What are those? TFM, RGE. I don't know all the acronyms. Mm. Yes, they're definitely Nazis around, and now they feel very empowered now. So Nazis are going out and doing their thing out in public, and they feel very empowered to do whatever they would like. And I don't think that's really a great development. I think it's much better that they go underground. I mean, this whole shining the sunlight on them and to disinfect it, that has its merits if they happen to be out there. But I still would rather they not feel empowered enough so that they would want to go out. I mean, if they're able to get hundreds of their buddies to actually show up in meat space and have marches and stuff like that, where they did not feel at all empowered to do that a couple of years ago. I think that's a problem. Yeah, because they feel like they're propped up by the current administration. So, type of card you can't use for air travel. Oh, you have a quasi passport. Oh, it's one of those. Yeah. Uh, yeah, you can't. It's for like if you wanted to drive across the border to Canada or whatever. I've never understood the use for that unless you have a specific like you specifically are going to go to Canada, but just didn't have Turk Flame Monkey, Raging Golden Eagle. I have not heard of either of those people or things or groups or whatever those are, but I can take a look at it. Let's see. Last time you were in Canada, the newscasters couldn't hide the disdain for Trump when reporting on him. I do think that's a lot of people do feel like that. They feel like they don't want to report on him without sort of they want to kind of distance themselves. They're reporting on all the nonsense he's talking about, but then wanting at the same time to kind of distance themselves from it. So they're kind of like, yeah, this is sort of cringy, but like today, like he wants a military parade in D.C. For some kind of nonsense. Um, but it's crazy. But they have to report on it. But they're trying to do it with a straight face and as a straight reporter who's not trying to put their own spin on it. But how do you make that sort of thing sound normal? It's hard. Have I heard of a neo-Nazi terrorist organization in the 80s called the Silent Brotherhood? No, I have not. I have not heard of the Silent Brotherhood. Did not know they existed. Um, the Nazis felt shame it might be useful to shine light on them. They just get out the tanning lotion. Yes, that would be fantastic if Nazis actually felt any shame. But unless they leave the movement, I don't think they usually do. Yeah. Uh, Question: Have I ever been to Russia? No, I have not. I have not been to Russia. Um, it's one of those countries that's on my list. I am eventually going to see Russia. At the moment, it's not really necessarily a place I really want to go. Um, but yeah, eventually I'll go. Mrs. Zaunstar's family is from Ukraine, so they are not really so keen on Russia, and Mrs. Zaunstar is not really that keen on giving Russia any tourism dollars, which I don't really blame her for, and we have plenty of other places that we have planned on to go. In fact, our big trip this year is going to be to Australia and New Zealand. So we have that coming up in the fall, and so we already have plenty of places to go. And then next year we plan on doing a big Italy trip, because I've been to Australia a couple times for work, but neither time was Sydney. So we're gonna do Sydney, Melbourne, and Auckland, or Melbourne as they pronounce it. And then so and I've been to Rome a couple times for work, but she's never been to Italy at all. Aside from we were in Italy very briefly when we took our Switzerland tour back in like 2004, but we didn't really see very much of it. Just the part that was right near the Alps there, but way up in the northwest. But yeah, Moscow. Yeah, I'd love to see Moscow at some point. I'd certainly like to see it at some point. Um, and St. Petersburg as well. If I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna see both for sure. Yeah, Rome is fantastic. Rome is like, um, yeah. Thanks, Sabich. Have a good one. Enjoy dinner and all that. So yeah. Oh, so those two guys are both major MG Taos. Okay, yeah. I'll have to see what they're up to. Um, you want to go to Rome? Yeah, someday you should go to Rome. Absolutely. I mean, Rome is amazing, and it is practically where food was invented. I usually say that when people ask me like what really stands out about Italy. I tell them that pretty much it feels like it's where food was invented for something more than just sustenance, because they everything is just so good there. The best dish I had there was it was veal bolognese on gnocchi, and it was amazing. And had the antipasti and the bruschetta with the oh no, it was porchetta. I think they call it porchetta. It's like sort of thin sliced ham that almost has sort of a bacon note to it, but it's not fried or anything, not cooked or anything. So, hey Ed, what's happening, man? Been a while. Uh, let's see. I have not been to Lithuania. No, not yet. I've been to Estonia for a day. When we were in Finland in 2007, we were on a Scandinavian tour. First time I was in Finland. I was in Finland a couple of years ago as well, but 2007 we took a day trip to Estonia. So that's the only Baltic country I've been to. I've not been to Lithuania or Latvia, but I'll get there at some point. Probably on the same trip that we go to Russia. Most likely we'll hit those at some point. Last time I was in Scotland, the only time I was in Scotland was on a tour in 2012. Scotland was one of the most underrated destinations that I went to. I really enjoyed Scotland a lot, and so did Mrs. Zaunstar. Haggis. Everybody complains about haggis, like, oh, haggis is terrible, blah blah blah. I thought haggis was fantastic. I had no idea what was wrong with haggis. I thought it was great. Mmm, tasted good to me. Yes, eating baby cows is, in fact, delicious. Yes, it is. Humanity's favorite food. Yes. Yep, I am a human that eats flesh. Those 10 different countries, do you think their healthcare is better? Well, I didn't sample their healthcare in any of those countries. I definitely can tell you that one of the things that strikes me the most about other countries is that other countries seem to value their fellow citizens more than we do. Their citizens, that they value the lives and the health and the welfare of their citizens a lot more than we do. We're much more individualistic when it comes to that. We are always like, oh, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and all kinds of, just there's a lot of sort of bravado around independence, and you can do this and you can do that, and all these other people are freeloaders, and the poor are leeching, and all that kind of thing. You're not going to hear that much of that from other countries comparatively. And I'm not just talking about like these socialist European countries. I'm talking about countries like Peru, and Colombia, and United Arab Emirates. I mean, these people care about their people a lot more than we do in general. Um, the neo-Nazi Republican in Illinois, have I heard of him? Yes, I have heard of him. He's insane. He has no chance, obviously, but he's running in a district where there's already a Democrat that's an incumbent that is not retiring. So just the way the winds are prevailing in 2018, he has almost no chance of winning, even if he were not insane. So he has no chance of actually winning the election, but he just points out a larger problem in the Republican Party, that these are the kinds of people that they attract. Because somebody like that is almost never going to run as a Democrat, because they would disagree with Democrats on so many other things. So yeah. Would you say that the U.S. is one notch from North Korea? No, I would not say we're one notch from North Korea, because in a couple years we can get rid of Trump if we want to, which it appears so far, fortunately, that we will want to. North Korea, they're probably not going to have any such choice, unless, of course, we have nuclear war, in which case, who the hell knows? I live in the D.C. area. How long am I going to last in a nuclear war? I don't know. Mm. Even if it's a small nuclear war, I would assume DC is gonna get it. But I live enough outside of DC that it's gonna take. I would assume that it would take more than a couple of them to take me out. But who knows? Yeah, that kind of is the way. There's a lot of cartoons that show that, like political cartoons will show, uh, like a rich Republican saying, you know why you're poor? It's because those poor people over there are taking all the money. Yeah, exactly. So, uh, if he gets a war ended, I am a little concerned that if he ends up getting a war, that, yeah, something could change there, because think of what happened after 9/11. George W. Bush was not popular at all until 9/11. 9/11 happened, and he was like, "Wow, this is my chance," and he got enough popularity so that he became a two-termer instead of the one-termer that everybody thought he was going to be. So so yeah, the stock market, I don't think that's going to save Trump, not by itself, no. And the stock market's not going to keep going up endlessly. It can't. It doesn't. And I'm heavily invested in the stock market. I mean, believe me, my retirement savings are in there. And I lost, like, on paper at least, tens of thousands within a fairly short time. But then it just comes right back. And I had very little in 2008 when the stock market crashed. I didn't have that much that was in it. But since then, during Obama's term, it went up a lot. And it's still continuing to go up in Trump's term. But of course, Trump's taking credit for it. But he's not, of course, going to take credit for he's not going to take the blame for the crash. But that's just him. Um, Wants to take credit for everything, but you got to take the blame too. Let's see. So Ed says, will we beat Canada in hockey in the Olympics this time? Who knows? Probably not. I'm hoping the women finally win in hockey. Like, we lost to Canada. We were up like 2-0 or something, I think, last time, and they had some other heartbreaking losses. we were up like 2-0, and then we ended up losing in overtime somehow in the last Olympics. I really hope the American women win, and I hope the American men do too. But I think there's less of a chance of that. What made me want to do videos? William says, I wanted to do videos because I wanted to be part of the conversation. I wanted to be more than just in the comments, and I felt like I had something to contribute, and so I started a YouTube channel. Um, so yeah, Trump is an incredibly weak president. Like he's this guy that projects. He's trying to project all this strength, but yet he's pushing away everybody. Like he pushes away our allies and our adversaries. So he's saying that like we can go it alone and that kind of thing, but it doesn't work that way anymore. This isn't, excuse me, this isn't like 1870. It's not like the world is very connected now, and it's ridiculous. So, all right, Canaminas, night to you. So, yeah, he's always trying to do that. Um, so, yeah, he definitely is a complete nutter, and I don't know how to, I don't really know what to say about that, except we have not yet had a chance to actually put our votes in and make ourselves heard at the polls for what we think of what Trump has done. Until 2018, until 9 months from now, we don't really have a way to do that. So that's when we actually get our chance to put our thumb on the scales and say, all right, this is done. You guys are gone. There have already been dozens of Republican congressmen that have, Republican congresspeople that have said, I'm done. So they're gone, and they're going to be, a lot of them are going to be replaced by Democrats because a lot of them saw the writing on the wall, and they're like, well, I don't want to be voted out. I'll just take a bow now. Like Darrell Issa, who barely survived in 2016 in a district that went several points over for Hillary over Trump. So he knew that he was going to be gone this time, so he just left. And California, Pennsylvania, after they redraw those districts, that's a huge thing, by the way. Don't think that Pennsylvania thing, that is a huge story. That state alone is responsible for a handful of seats that really, by all rights, should be Democrat seats. Should be Democratic seats, but they are Republican seats because of the terrible gerrymandering that they did there to basically shut the Democrats out, and they only have like 5 out of 18 seats there or something like that in a state that's certainly tilted blue for the most part. I mean, yeah, it barely went for Trump this time, but in general, it's a bluish state, or at least purple. And they have a bunch more. They have like a +8 there of Republicans over Democrats and for the congressional seats, and it never should be that way. So, yeah, what did I think? What did you think after Trump got the nomination? I remember you saying in one of your videos that you didn't think he'd get it. You must have been shocked. I was shocked because I honestly didn't think that there were enough people that were that angry that they would be okay with Trump being their standard bearer. And there are some people that I know personally, some friends of mine that are really conservative. I'm just ashamed that they can stoop so low and be so okay with all the things that Trump has said and done, that they actually feel okay about it. And these are people that I generally think are you know, I usually think of as good people, you know, that would help somebody in need if needed, or have some kind of empathy for others, and yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I don't know that Trump is mentally ill. I mean, he might be, but I don't even know that it matters at this point. Yeah, and like Andid said, he's not fit to serve even without having to go down that rabbit hole. He's just not fit to serve. Whether, you know, I'm not a psychiatrist. I have a master's degree in psychology, but that doesn't qualify me to diagnose Trump. I don't know what's wrong with the guy. So, I mean, in terms of if there is a mental health issue or not. I mean, I know what's wrong with the guy otherwise, but so yeah. One of those survey calls asking what he thought of the new job, the job of New Jersey governor. He's been, yeah, been governor for 2 weeks. What are you supposed to say exactly? But at least Governor Humpty Dumpty is gone, and the beaches will be safe again, right? Mm. Thank you, Glitch42. So I appreciate that. Yeah, we may pick up several seats in PA. I don't think California will ultimately be divided. I mean, they float. I hear that floated like every 4 or 5 years. Somebody floats the idea that California is going to be divided, and it's always, of course, conservatives that. Well, so conservatives want to divide California in half, and then sometimes liberals want to take California and just divide it from the union. But most people aren't saying that. That's not. That's I don't think that's anything that's really based in reality. And the same thing happens in Texas too. Someone in Texas always floats this idea of, oh, Texas is going to secede and herpa derpa derp. Nah, I don't think that's happening. I don't see it happening. Um, so in Illinois, you have a choice between a demagogue and a crooked politician. I'm not sure what race you're talking about in Illinois, but Illinois is not going to be a close race. If it's a Senate race, it's not a close race because I'm not even familiar with what I don't know that they have a Senate race this time, do they? Because you've got you just had a Senate race last time, and I'm not sure if the other Senate seat is up, if your other Senate seat is up this time or in 2020. I don't know, but you've already got Duckworth, who's really good, I think. So one silver lining in all this is I appreciate progressive religious way more. Yeah, that's true. To be honest, there's a lot of progressive religious people I like a lot more than some of the atheist red pillars. I mean, I really appreciate the progressive religious people a lot more in a lot of cases. There's actually a lot more empathy and love and understanding and real acceptance people there than there is sometimes among some of those others. Um, yeah. So my favorite city in the U.S. to visit. Um, my favorite city in the U.S. to visit, in Europe rather to visit. So London is one of my favorites. I've been to London like 7 times, though I've been there like 4 times for work and well 3 times for work, I guess, 4 times for pleasure. But and including in December. So hello, First Ninja. Um, so yeah, I love London. I think Barcelona is fantastic. It's a beautiful city. I love Stockholm. That's where my grandfather was from, so that's kind of cool. My grandfather was an immigrant, one of those dirty immigrants. But of course, he was from Sweden, so I'm sure Trump wouldn't have minded him coming over because he was a white guy. Mm, but yeah, um, before the notification bell. Oh yeah, excellent. What do you think about the SJW stuff going on? Well, I've done a couple videos about that, Zents. You can do a search on that. I just did a video about that like a month or two ago. I'm not going to rehash it all right here, but I do think there's a lot of I think that there's a lot of undue attention being given to all of that sort of thing, and I think a lot of it's nonsense. So, uh, oh, the governor's race. That's the one. Okay, in Illinois, yeah. Well, I mean, Illinois is pretty likely to go Democrat in this governor's race, I would expect. That's also important that the more Democrats are elected to governor's races, because a lot of these governor's races are races that where the person that won 8 years ago was a Republican because it was in 2010, which was a big Republican year, and then 2014 was a big Republican year, so they ended up retaining their seats. But 2018 is looking to be a big Democratic wave year, and a lot of those Republican incumbents are term limited to 2 terms. So there's a lot of those guys and those people that are going to get swept out. So there's going to be a lot of Democratic governors, more of them than a lot more of them before. So that's gonna help with gerrymandering a lot because we have another redistricting that's going to come up in 2020. and all of those House seats and all those seats that were gerrymandered terribly in favor of Republicans in 2010, a lot of those are going to get overturned. It's going to be changed. There's going to be more of those places that are getting more of the urban areas that are getting higher populations. They're going to get more representation. So some of those seats that were kind of in the suburbs are now going to have more suburbs and less of the exurbs and rural areas. And that's exactly what's happening in my area. I mean, there's my congresswoman is uh, is in deep trouble. She only won by 5% this last election. The area that I live in is getting more and more Democratic. The area that I live in, I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm definitely sure this particular area went for Hillary over Trump. Overall, her district might have been 50-50 at best, but she managed to win by 5% as an incumbent. So redistricting. Um, I don't know that it's more important than the presidential race, but it is definitely important. It's important to everything. It's important to state representation as well as state houses. So a good nominee, I think Kamala Harris would be really strong. Um, I I mean I'm not there's no one person where I'm like, oh, I definitely want that person to win. But count me out with Bernie Sanders. Bernie is okay. He's not a terrible person. I don't. I'm done with him. He's no, just I don't want anybody that was involved in 2016. Nobody. Not Hillary, not Bernie, definitely not Trump. And so I want someone that's new. Um, and Biden is really not new either, but he wasn't running in 2016. I mean, I like Biden as a person, but I'd rather somebody younger get in there. I think Biden is a fantastic matchup against Trump. I think Biden is exactly the kind of person that can beat Trump really resoundingly and can beat Trump at his own game, which I would kind of like to see in a way because I just think he's a great matchup against him. But he's also, he's not fresh blood. I think Democrats would be better served getting somebody a bit younger. Give them a better shot. Kasich, I mean, as a Republican, he's one of the more sane Republicans, but this is the guy that just passed this bill in, or just I think he was certainly in support of the bill in Ohio to say that if you had a baby that had Down syndrome, that if you got tested, the fetus tested rather for Down syndrome, that you cannot then abort the fetus. So yeah, that's crazy. That's no. Elizabeth Warren, yeah. So Elizabeth Warren, okay. I think she's okay. Yeah. Um, I I mean any of those people I would certainly vote for them in the general election. Democrats borrow money, Republicans go to war. Why not the independent party? That way, red, white, and blue. Well, unfortunately, in the way that our system's set up, you're going to have one party that is in grappling ignorance. You've come just in time for this part because I know grappling ignorance is a big proponent of third parties, which I mean I like third parties too. The underlying issue with third parties is that typically they're going to draw disproportionately from one party or the other. So if any third party gets big enough, then they're basically going to end up taking enough votes from one of the two major parties, and then just the other party will simply win. It doesn't. Of course, it's possible if someone really catches fire, somebody has a great, has a great platform or something like that, and the closest to that we've had recently. I'm not saying that I thought he was great, but he at least had a fair amount of support. That was like Ross Perot. He was at least had some sort of chance. Um, Jesse Ventura, no, I don't think he has a chance. He's a he's a 9/11 truther, and he's a smart guy. He's an intelligent individual. But I think he has a lot of conspiracy theory nonsense in his head. It's really interesting listening to him speak. Like Howard Stern has interviewed him several times, and he's an interesting guy. I don't want him anywhere near the presidency. No, I don't. Yeah, of course you can pick. Yeah, in terms of picking someone. Um, so he's Bernie is you say he's old, but he's pretty much the only experienced progressive contender I know of. No, I'd say Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, several other people have that mantle as well. There are other people like Cory Booker and Kristen Hilbrand who may go for it as well, although they're not considered maybe as progressive as Warren or Harris. But we'll see. There's still a lot of time left here. 2018. Um, so yeah, yeah. I think he did have a conspiracy show. Jesse Ventura, I believe he did. Um, no, actually, George Erickson. That's not the case. The Ross Perot, Bill Clinton wouldn't have been president thing. I actually did back when I did a written blog. I ran the numbers to figure out what would have needed to happen in order for Ross Perot to have given that to Clinton, and it was something crazy like his votes would have needed to go like if every single one of his voters had voted, they would have had to be like 82% to 18% or something to Bush if they had forced them to vote if they had all voted. Um, so yeah, that's not really what happened there. Yeah, getting actors out of office would be great. I don't want actors in office. And I mentioned in the last video that I did about Oprah. I don't want Oprah in office either. I don't want her as president. I mean, she can have office. I mean, sure. But if she can get it, but I don't want her as president. It's just not. I want someone that's an actual politician. I know it's not particularly I know it's not particularly in vogue right now. Everybody wants, a celebrity, but no. I do not want any woo mongers, as Madam Crystal just said. Um, so yeah, yeah, Jesse Ventura was definitely he was an actor. Yeah, he came up as a celebrity too, and he actually, I mean, by most accounts, I guess he did okay in Minnesota, but I don't know. I don't know if he was really doing anything fantastic in Minnesota, but yeah, someone that knows how to actually do it. Um, so we have a few minutes left. What do you want to be what is the last topic? Throw out a last topic for the evening here. Did they love him in Minnesota? I suppose someone obviously did. Topics. Well, so the last thing, yeah, let's see, your retirement. Oh, okay. So there is one thing I wanted to mention. We talked about I've talked about Congress earlier, about a whole bunch of Congress people retiring, and there's a very good chance at this point the Democrats will retake the House in 2018. Now, in 2018, it was not at all expected that Democrats would have a chance to take the Senate, but they do because of Doug Jones beating Roy Moore in Alabama. If they run the table on those close elections, they would be 51-49. That would be predicated on them keeping a couple. They need to keep the seats that they're defending in deep Trump country, which is West Virginia, Indiana, and Missouri, and they would have to pick up 2 seats, which would actually arguably be even easier to actually flip 2 seats in Nevada and Arizona. But they'd have to flip those 2 and then keep the other 3. So they'd have all of those 5 of the closest seats. North Dakota is perhaps in that mix as well, but she is actually expected to probably win. I mean, that seat seems to lean Democrat at the moment. Heidi Heitkamp. and so yeah, obviously they'd have to keep that seat too. But if they don't keep that seat, then they're not gonna probably keep the West Virginia or Indiana or Missouri seats. So that's definitely a consideration there. So yeah, yes, Oprah is the reason for Dr. Oz, and Dr. Oz is ridiculous. And so yeah, let's not have any of that, please. Do not want woo. And she basically propped up the guy that had to go in front of Congress and explain why he's recommending all this nonsense to people. So yeah. So, yes, this has been a fun stream, guys. It has been about an hour. So those of you who are watching the stream, yeah, go ahead and watch it once it's up on YouTube, because like I said at the beginning, I need those hours to keep my partnership, because I'm at just under 3,000 hours of watch time because my videos are so short, and I need 4,000 hours by like what the heck is it, 2 weeks from now, or I lose my partnership, which means I'll probably get fewer views. So anyway, so look at my go to my playlists or whatever, and from my channel page, and if you just let them run. You don't even have to watch them. Just let them run in the background for like an hour or two. So that would be very helpful if you feel like doing that. So, all right, cool, man. Or yeah, to watch some of my old ones. Hell, I started back in 2009. It's like a billion years ago now. So, excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that practical magic. So, okay, guys. Thanks, Crocoduck Army, for making this very enjoyable, and had like 40 some people most of the time, so that was fun. Because I didn't even put the reminder up until like half an hour before it. So, all right, guys, signing off, and I will see you next time.